Hello there, legends. Today, what we're going to talk about is New Year's resolutions. It's coming up on the new year. What does everyone have to do in the new year? Make a few resolutions. So, let's talk about where this comes from, why do we do it, why does it often fail, and see if we can give ourselves a chance for success by trying a few simple mindset tricks. So, first of all, where does New Year's resolution comes from? Well, if we look back in time, way back in time, like 4,000 years ago, the Babylonians at the start of each year, which is around March, set themselves a challenge of returning all their objects and getting themselves out of debt. So that's kind of the very first setup for New Year's resolutions. Now the Romans changed that from March to January, to the new year. That was the start of their calendar. And what they did was, instead of trying to get out of debt and return objects, they prayed to their god Janus. I'm going to go with Janus. It's a two-headed god, and the idea was that one head faced forward into the new year and the other head faced back into the previous year. So that's why it started into January, and that became more popular as time went on, and the focus started to shift from being that external source where it was a prayer to a god to an internal source where we were promising ourselves that we would do something. As it shifted from external to internal, sort of participation increased from maybe a quarter of the population to 40, 50, 60% of the population. And now loads of us at least say that we're going to make these New Year's resolutions. Whether or not we follow through with them is a different story. Now the success rate of these is mixed. Oftentimes we don't succeed, but the statistics are a bit off on this. Sometimes it's down as low as 20% success rate. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. It depends on how the studies are formed. But the general consensus is that most times we're not successful in carrying through. Now, why is this? By understanding why, it makes it easier then to form strategies to ensure that we have more chance for success down the line. So, a couple of things we can look at here. One, that we might set too vague a goal. Oh, I want to be better in the new year. Well, what does that mean? I want to feel healthier. Well, there's many ways you can do that. So by being too vague and too broad, we don't give ourselves an actionable step. Another thing that can go wrong is our results don't match our expectations. Okay, and that's on us. Oftentimes we don't appreciate how hard something is going to be, and we expect to get results faster or more or bigger results for the amount of work that we put in. Sometimes we overcommit ourselves, so we maybe do appreciate that it's going to take a lot of work to do something, but our time scale's way off, so we try to do too much too soon, and we end up making unsustainable habits. Another thing that can kind of go along with that is perfectionism. So we try to only do it if we're going to do it perfectly. Well, have you ever seen a kid do a drawing in school? It's awful. I know we say, oh, it's so good. No, it's not. It's rubbish. But it has to be rubbish because they're learning. They're doing something for the first time. And they don't look at it and go, oh, this is pants. I'll never draw again. And if they do, hopefully their teacher is there to correct them and push them forward to try again and build progress. But that perfectionism can sometimes then build into our self-belief. So we believe, well, unless I'm going to do it perfectly, there's no point doing it at all. Well, that's garbage. Absolute garbage. You can do something pretty well and get most of the results from it. So that lack of belief, whether it's because we don't believe we can do it perfectly, or just because we don't think it's something we can achieve. Maybe we've been told by our parents or our friends, you're not that kind of person, that's not going to work for you. Well, these things can all add up. Final couple of things then. Not having any consequences. So oftentimes we say, oh, I want to do this in the new year. Well, that's cool. What happens if you don't? Probably nothing. Well, then what's the motive for it to go on? You know, you've got the carrot and the stick. Use both, okay? Use the carrot. You're going to develop this new skill, or you're going to feel better, or whatever it is. but also the stick, if I don't achieve this, there are going to be some consequences for it. And the final thing then is lack of fun. We set these challenges hoping that it's going to do us good, but we forget that it also has to be fun in order to be successful. We look at the gym. Part of the reason why CrossFit has done so well is because it's gamified working out. It's turned it into a challenge and something we can get stuck into and really enjoy the process of going along. So there's 7 things that go wrong with New Year's resolutions, and now we're going to try and tackle what we can do to make it easier. So let's look at each of those and break them down. First things first, let's look at the bigger picture. Why on earth are we actually doing this? Why? For some of us, let's use a simple one, a really common one. I want to lose weight in the new year. Well, why? Is it because you think it'll make you feel better? Or is it because I'm overweight, I get out of breath walking upstairs, I struggle to play with my nieces and nephews, and therefore my quality of life is lower. I'm missing out on all of the fun things in life. Well, if that's the case, heck, there's a bit of motivation for us. But if it's just to maybe look a bit better at some time in the future, like, why are we going to stick to that? So look at the bigger picture and really take the more time we take on this, the better an understanding of what it is we're trying to do. And the more motivation there is behind it, and the more emotion we can get into that reason, the easier it is to commit in the first place. Second thing is, yes, we want to achieve something at the end of it. But if we just focus on the result, our expectation is going to be getting that result as fast as possible. But actually, if we focus in on the process and take our time to go through and enjoy each step of our journey, well, then it's a win-win, because you're enjoying the process. Because you're enjoying it, you're going to continue to do it, and at some point down the line, the results will come. If you put in the work, like, they'll just come. It'll happen. But if we're just obsessed with the result, it might not happen. Let's look at running. Okay, say you want to set yourself a goal of running a 20-minute 5K. Well, if all you try and do is run a 20-minute 5K, you're going to miss out on the steps of building that aerobic base, building in some speed work, intervals, rest time, recovery, food, sleep, nutrition, all these different steps along the journey to get you that sub 20-minute 5K. Now, along with focusing on the process is tracking that process. So sometimes we look at this and go, right, well, I'm doing all the steps, so I must get there. But then 3 weeks down the line, you're like, well, I'm in the same place I was at the start of this. But actually, you don't necessarily see all the small increments that you've achieved. So write it down. Make a note of it. Track it. Unless we measure something, we can't see change. Okay, if you measure it and it's here and it goes down, well, great. Now we've figured out something has brought us down rather than up, if that's the way we're going. Or if we want to go down, great, keep at it. Take it easy. So tracking it, super, super important. Then, along with tracking it, is setting yourself a minimum work requirement. So when you're forming a habit, it's easy to get sucked into that trap of more is better. But actually, more can be overwhelming. That day that you wake up and you're just not motivated by what it is you're trying to do, and you're like, oh gosh, I can't face 30 minutes on the treadmill. Well, duh. 30 minutes on the treadmill is a long time. But if you set yourself a goal of, I must do 5 minutes. Well, everyone can do 5 minutes. No matter how crappy you're feeling, you can push through 5 minutes. And you might find after that 5 minutes that you're actually feeling pretty good. And now we can push on a little bit more and a little bit more. Now, obviously, I'm using exercise as an example here. This can be applied to anything. Whether it's, I want to eat 1 vegetable in a day. Great. You can eat 1 vegetable. And actually, if you're having one, well, you might have to. You know, it's easier to add a little bit more. So long as you get that first, you got to get that first ball rolling before the other ones will kick in. Next step then is to visualize. We want to picture our success. If we can't see ourselves doing it, it's going to be very hard to believe that we can do it. And part of that visualization then builds into some other stuff. Oh, this is a whole rabbit hole, isn't it? So visualize, what does that mean? Well, again, let's use the weight loss one because it's a simple example. Say I am 20 stone and my goal is to get to 15 stone. Well, if I can't see myself as being 15 stone, how will I get there? I want to visualize what it looks like. So I'm walking down the stairs, I turn and see the mirror. Oh my goodness, that's what I look like at 15 stone. And then, well, how does that make me feel? Like, what do my clothes feel like on my skin? What clothes am I wearing? And then, what am I able to do? Walking down the stairs was a piece of cake. I didn't have any sore knees. My back was great. The more senses we can get into this, the more clear that visualization is, and the bigger the commitment we can make. So that visualization is super duper important. We're really starting to take action. Okay, so we know where we want to go to, we know where we're starting from. How do we make ourselves commit to this? Well, we bring back the carrot and the stick. All right, the carrot is great. I'm going to look and feel like this. This is awesome. Best month of my life. But along the way, there are opportunities to fail. There's also opportunities to succeed. But what do we do when we go off track? A lot of people find that money is a key motivator. So, say for example, you are saying to your friend, I'm going to do a workout by 8 p.m. every night during the week, Monday to Friday. If I don't text you a picture of myself after the workout by 8 p.m., I have to give you a fiver. Well, heck, you missed 3 days in a row, that's 15 quid. Whatever the money amount is for you, okay? I'm using £5. It could be £50. In fact, the bigger the consequences, the more the commitment. If you had to give them £100 for missing a workout, heck, you definitely wouldn't miss that workout, would you? I don't have £100 to throw around, so that would be a pretty good motivator. But you got to have a friend who is kind, i.e., they're going to call you out if you don't do it. Okay, they're nice. They're just going to go, it's all right. You had a bad day. No, a kind one is going to go, hey, look, we made a deal. I expect you to follow through. It's my job to help you commit to your goals here. And part of that setting consequences, especially with a friend, is telling other people. So if you have social proof, you stick it on your Facebook, your Instagram, you text all your friends to say you're going to do it, you're more likely to follow through. Okay, so let's maybe take a short break. Grab a sip of water. If you haven't done so already and you're enjoying what we're talking about, go down, tick that like button, pick yourself on subscribe, and that way you can find out about more content as it's released. Now we've done all that, let's talk about language. Now, this is not the Steve Rogers language sort of thing, but it is important to talk about. How we talk to ourselves affects how we see the world around us. When I'm working with somebody and they use some words that irritate me, we'll talk about those in a second. What sometimes is useful if I say to them, hey, look, would a coach ever talk to you like this? They say, well, no. So why do you talk to yourself like this? You are your own coach. You hear your voice more than anyone else's. If you're like the majority and you hear your thoughts as opposed to seeing shapes and stuff, which is crazy, rabbit hole, then you're going to hear your voice and those words more and more and more. And the more you hear them, the more you start to believe them. So what words are we talking about here? Well, let's look at just a few. I'm going to start with what I call undermining words. So things that take away from your achievement. Things like, I only managed to do 5 reps. Well, heck, you did 5 reps. Why is the word only in there? That's just undermining what you did. Or, I just managed to get it done. No, you got it done, There's no just about it. You got it done. Doesn't matter how close to the time it was or whatever it is we're talking about, right? So those are a couple of undermining words. We can just wipe them out. Get rid of them. We don't need them. They're not going to do us any good. Instead, appreciate the achievements that we've actually made. Another word that gets a bad rep is I can't do this. So can't. Well, can't yet. Okay, can't can be a fine word, just fine, if we add the word yet, because that makes us appreciate that it's a journey, it's a process. We gotta get there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. The other thing we can do with can't is replace it with don't. Now, why would we do that? Well, let's look at the example of brownies. If we're on a diet, say a restrictive diet, another rabbit hole. Stop it! Rabbit holes. If we look at the restrictive diet, where we're trying to cut out some foods, thinking I can't have brownies is demoralizing. But I don't have brownies is a totally different mindset shift. Now, I said earlier on we'd come to this. This is where we're talking about who do we believe we are. If we can visualize ourselves as that 15 stone person who's just come down the stairs, we used to be 20 stone, now we're 15. Well, now we're starting to think like the 15 stone person. Okay? 20 stone person's like, well, I want the brownies. I'll have the brownies. 15 stone person is a different person. They make different decisions. And that's what allows them to be 15 stone. They go, well, I want the brownies, but I don't have brownies. Okay, now, I know I'm talking a lot about brownies. I'd love me a brownie right now. But hopefully you're kind of getting the idea there. Whew. There's a few of these. Have to and want to. Again, it's similar to that brownie conversation, except this time, let's talk about dogs. We'll try and give you a few examples. Hopefully you can pick something up from it. So I have a dog called Lily. She is lovely. She's so fluffy. But sometimes I catch myself thinking, I have to take her for a walk. Well, yeah, it seems like a chore if I do that. Well, actually, it's great spending time with her. She's super fun. She's exploring the world. She's finding out for the first time about everything that she smells and touches and licks and eats that she shouldn't. And that's great. So by replacing have to with I want to take her for a walk, now we shift the whole conversation. Now it's something that can be enjoyable because I want to go and do it, because I want to spend time with her. I want to let her experience those things so that she grows up to be a well-rounded doggy that doesn't bite people in the face or chase them around the garden and scar you for life, hypothetically. Not talking about anyone in particular. So there's another little thing we can look at with our words. I'll do two more. We can do this. Stick with me, guys. But and. What? But and. Let's say we're talking about going to the gym. This is something I hear on a weekly basis and it does my nut in. Here's why. I want to go to the gym, but I have to go to work. Well, why can't that sentence be I want to go to the gym and I have to work? Well, now each one doesn't interfere with each other. We can have both. Why does the but have to be in there? That's just an excuse. That's a reason of like, oh dear, oh well, there's a little hurdle. Who cares? No, we can do both. Are you working 24 hours a day? No. Who does? Unless you're in a work situation, in which case, I'm so sorry for you. Quit your job, go work somewhere else. But you kind of get the idea. Sometimes that but word can give us an out. When actually, if we stick an and in there, I want to do both, so I shall. Obviously, you can't just keep stacking ands because there's only so many hours in the day. But rabbit holes. Final one. It's kindness. Being kind to yourself. It's kindness. So if we look at kindness, as a Northern Irelander, that being a phrase, we tend to be quite harsh on ourselves. I'm such an idiot. Why did I do that? You idiot. That's not doing me any good. All I'm hearing there is, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Be kind to yourself. Everyone makes mistakes. Like, that was a blip in my radar. I didn't mean to do it. I probably won't do it again. It's the same thing, but it's not a punishment. If you're trying to train a dog, you want to reinforce them with positivity. Telling them no all the time or slapping them or anything like that, it's not going to do them any good. We're the same. If we just hear negativity all the time, we're going to become negative. But if we're reinforcing the positive and taking away from the fact that, well, actually, normally I don't do that, so that's okay. Now, hopefully these things are starting to change some of our core beliefs. If we took a month, if we looked at implementing one of these a week, that's 4 of these we can do. That's going to help change the words that we're hearing all the time. And if we're changing the words that we're hearing all the time, that's going to change our beliefs. That's just how it works. And another thing we can do with that is kind of build a mantra. So again, we're looking at that 15 stone person. That person believes something very different from the 20 stone person. So we can look at the core characteristics that we want to have in future selves that we visualized and go, I am the kind of person that gets up early, eats a great breakfast, tackles 3 jobs before 11 o'clock at work, goes for a walk at lunch. And if we repeat our mantra once a day, that starts to ingrain. If we hear something 5 times, we might start to believe it. If we hear it 30 times, we might start to believe it. If we hear 100 times, we're probably going to start believing it. Okay, look at the media, all the crap they post, and we start to believe it, right? So building in these words and these phrases and these beliefs is really going to change how we perceive ourselves and therefore the action we can take. If we believe that we can take bigger action, we'll get better results, which will reinforce that belief, allows us to take more action, and snowballs. Snowballs. That'd be great. That'd be Christmas, eh? So, quick summary of our mindset goals here. First step is to be present. Understand what's going on right now. What words are we saying to ourselves? What do we believe? What things are we currently doing that are holding us back from achieving our resolutions? Next step then is to visualize what it will look like when we achieve the resolutions. It's going to help start to change our core beliefs. Then set a minimum standard, like the least. Make it so simple that we can't fail. Okay? If you're looking to meditate for a minute a day. Everyone can take a minute to just breathe for 60 seconds. Right? And if you do 60 seconds and you're feeling good, well, maybe do 2, 3, 4 minutes. But if you set yourself a goal of doing 10 minutes, well, it's easier to find an excuse to not do that. Then, tell people. The more people we tell, the more chance we have of following through, because there's that social pressure. A bit of peer pressure sometimes can do a lot of good. Then, pick an accountability buddy. Make a bet with them. Okay, the more outlandish, the more terrifying, the better. Because we want to commit to this, but it has to be a good buddy. Somebody who's actually going to hold you to it. Then we've got to understand there's a chance here that we might relapse. We might start slipping away from these habits. Okay, be kind to yourself. It's okay. We all stuff up, but we learn from our mistakes. And we learn how to commit going forward or how to avoid making those mistakes again. And then the final step is share your success. Okay, after 6 weeks of this, you're bang on. You've got your habit built in. You're achieving what you wanted to achieve. You're enjoying that process. Now share the love with somebody else. See other people who are also making changes, who are also trying to improve themselves, who are trying to grow. Encourage them. Remember how good it felt when somebody encouraged you? Well, share that out. Try and encourage 3 people. Then those 3 people will encourage 3 people. Share the love. I hope you find this useful. I know there's a lot to unpack there. I do apologize. I was thinking like a 6-minute video. oh my goodness, what happened? So thank you for taking the time to sit down. Hopefully you're able to take something from this. If you were, please feel free to share it in the comments. It's good to get some feedback, and I hope to see you real soon.